Okay, before we get into things, I want to say thank you for 100 subscribers. Like I said in the Christmas video, I truly want to build a community here. I hope in the near future it becomes active enough to the point where I'm able to have a Discord server where anyone who really fucks with me can join. You know, make some new friends and talk about the obvious nerdy things, music, food, shit, even books, which I've been severely slacking on. Literally anything. I'd just be chatting. Damn, hold on, now I'm starting to sound like a desperate loser. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. Thanks again for the support. So after I uploaded the anime I finished in 2022, Now I'm Soulless video last month, go watch that by the way, I thought, you know, there's quite a few anime that I dropped last year. So let's make the opposite of that video. Because there were a couple of series that when the new season of said anime was getting close to wrapping up, I thought to myself, yeah, once the season is over for this anime, I'm good. I think I've seen enough. Whether it was because the series became trash, boring, uninteresting, the characters were awful or annoying, terrible art or animation, etc, etc. Honestly, there's quite a few reasons as to why I dropped these anime. Also, you may be thinking, why not just immediately drop it instead of watching the entire new season? You know, I was hoping that maybe some way, somehow, by some miracle, my mind would change by the end of that new season. But sadly, that did not happen. And don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. I'm mostly just gonna be talking about the series as a whole. Again, just like the previous anime video, I probably won't be crazy in depth with this. I don't want it to be too long of a video. We'll see. Now, before we really get into this, I do have an honorable mention. That is Comey Can't Communicate. The reason it's an honorable mention is because I'm teetering on the edge of should I continue it, should I not? Because I like the show, it has some enjoyable moments. It's just something chill to watch. But what makes me want to drop the show is the fucking supporting cast. Oh my god, it's so bad. They're annoying, cringy, weird, and not in a good way. Then you have Tadano's childhood friend Najimi. Everything about them just annoys me. I don't like how they include themselves and other people into things. They don't know how to read the room. And from what I can recall, there hasn't been a moment where like, damn, W friend. But the worst offender is this dickhead. In other anime with characters similar to her, they're tolerable, funny, and actually somewhat of a good person. But this one right here, fuck no, dude. She's an awful human being. She possibly might be top 10 worst anime characters of all time. I don't understand how they forgave her for what she did and acting like it wasn't that big of a deal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or you somehow forgot, in episode 4 of season 1, this psychotic bitch kidnaps Tano all because she's jealous that someone like him is always near Comey. She even asks him, the woods or the sea? What do you want your great sight to be? Bro, how the fuck is she not locked up? This is all premeditated. Or at least a mental institution. I think what makes it worse is the serious tone the situation has. Comey even tells Tano that she doesn't think she should be friends with him, since his life was put in danger because of her. Then when this witch comes to apologize to both of them, it's so half-assed. She doesn't even try to repent for the heinous things she did. They're like, yeah, it's cool, you're good. And she doesn't grow or try to change to be a better person. Yet I somehow got over that hurdle and continued to watch. But it has become harder to put up with the supporting cast. The only saving grace is some of the new characters which were introduced in season 2, especially my son Katai, who hopefully gets more screen time in the next season. There's one last thing that really annoys me about this series. Why do they treat Comey like a goddamn goddess? That shit irks the hell out of me. Like, damn man, get off her dick. I don't know, for now this anime is up in the air for me. Now the actual anime I dropped in 2022, these first 3 I'm not gonna spend too much time on, since I feel like they're pretty self-explanatory and they won't come as a surprise. Starting off with Random Girlfriend. I held off on watching this when it was airing. It didn't really interest me. But after watching a video of some of the moments of the show, I said screw it, why not give it a chance? I think I watched the first season sometime at the beginning of last year. I knew that a season 2 was coming soon, but I started to get curious as to what's gonna happen. So I read the manga. And boy, I'm glad I did. Because I did not know it was possible to stall and drag out a series like that. When I finally caught up to where the manga was at the time, it was during the resort arc, or whatever that name of that arc was. And it was still going through the same old routine. But now it seemed like whatever her name is was starting to take whatever his name is seriously. So I kept reading until the arc was over and gave it a few more chapters. Once I realized it was setting up to prolong the stalling it was already doing, I dropped it. At the time of making this video, there's currently 240 chapters, and wherever you expect the plot to be at this point, it's not. It already doesn't help that the series is ass. The writing might be some of the worst in human history. You would think a teenager wrote it because there's no way in hell a grown man, a grown ass adult wrote this story. And the characters are atrocious. The majority of them are shitty human beings in their own way. The shy redhead girl was the only character I could say was decent. I could go on and on, but I'll stop myself. I'm so glad I read ahead and not waste my time with this series any further. I just don't get how it continues to get published. Side note, I discovered another reason as to why I dislike this show. It was a pain in the ass to get decent visuals from the episodes, since it's either scenes that felt similar to a previous episode, just with different characters, or these horny perverted scenes. Yeah.
What are you doing, stepbro?
The next anime I freed myself from last year, My Hero Academia. I know the cool thing to do is to shit on this series, but I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I didn't really consider dropping this series until maybe a month before the new season was about to air. I think from what I previously watched, it was good for the most part. It all comes down to me just becoming bored with the series and losing interest. Honestly, the first 3 seasons are really good, but after that, it just became meh. I don't think I can bear how long the anime is becoming. I kind of get the reason for it, since it's telling the story how Deku became the #1 hero. I think what would have been more interesting if there was a little time skip, you know, maybe like 2 or 3 years, or even make it appear as if time was actually passing, because to me it didn't seem like that was happening. I never really got that vibe. Also, the villains were hit or miss. Some of them just didn't live up to the hype. I'm not gonna lie, I can't hold you, Stain has been their best villain so far, without a doubt. Shigeki did show promise in the last season, and I was waiting to see what Dabi could actually do, but they just kept him in the shadows doing other things. I guess I'll just never know what he's really capable of. Another problem that slightly deterred me from wanting to continue watching the anime was how often I would hear something bad or controversial about the latest chapters. It does seem like as of recently has me on the right track. Hopefully it stays like that. I think maybe once the series is fully completed, I'll come back to it one day. Who knows? The next anime I'm burdened myself from last year, Cheerleadero. I don't have any problems with this show. I think the main reason I decided to drop it was because it took a smidge too long for the second season to come out, especially with it being an action anime. So whatever interest I had in the show was gone. I did watch 2 or 3 episodes of it, but that charm and subtle uniqueness it kind of had in the first season was non-existent. Because probably as I was waiting for season 2, there were other anime similar to Cheerleadero that was just better and more fun to watch. Or maybe I become bored of watching the same old these guys being done over and over again. Also, it doesn't help that some content was cut out before the new arc. Then the characters. Honestly, they're all pretty forgettable. They're nothing to write home about. That's all I really have to say about this anime. I don't think it's bad. I just don't care to watch it anymore. I can't imagine myself ever going back and finishing it. The next anime I cast aside last year, The Devil's a Part-Timer. Oh boy, where do I even begin with what went wrong with this? First off, it took way too goddamn long for this to get a second season. I was only able to get past that since the first season was really good and hilarious. It was very charming. The second season though, that just all could be removed and out the window. It was soulless. I know it was a different studio working on it. I don't want to put all the blame on them. It could also be the content that was adapted. It started off decently, but as I continued to watch, it just got worse with each episode. The shift in tone was weird too. It was more serious than it actually should have been. Instead of being lighthearted and comedic, there wasn't a good balance of it. Obviously, one of the biggest eyesores was the art and animation, which look, I know every studio has different styles. That's fine and all, but that's another thing that just kept getting worse with each episode. Like, how do you go from this to 9 years later to this? It's so flat. Where's the passion? Bro, no, come on, what is this? Also, it's pretty weird how they need to remind you that Chio likes Mao. Like, we already knew that. What we didn't know was that she's ready to beat Emmy's ass for whenever Mao was able to give Chio an answer for what their relationship is. Another thing that bothered me was how useless Satan was. I know he didn't really have access to his powers, but damn, what did he do? What was he good for? Honestly, the devil side was just getting washed. To me, it felt like there was no sense of direction. Things were just happening. Nothing really exciting was being built up. And the new characters they introduced, whack, boring, lackluster. It's pretty disappointing how hard the quality of this anime fell off. The next anime I cut from my life last year, Classroom of the Elite. Another one that took quite a while to get a second season and turns out to be quite disappointing. It's such a slow season. The first 3 episodes are even slower. I questioned what the fuck I was even watching, and I was so confused on what the requirements were to pass the test, even with the explanation. It took 5 years for this anime to get a continuation, and you still don't really learn much about Ayano Koji. There's only one thing I can say you learned about him. This motherfucker got hands. Holy. This was the highlight of the season. I will say I can't remember what the end goal is, or there even is one. To me, this felt like such a pointless season. At this point, I can't picture Ayano Koji ever losing to anyone, which wouldn't be a bad thing if the show was a little more fast-paced, or maybe it had you on your toes guessing, will he lose, will he win? Like for example, Tomodachi Game, I can't ever see Yuichi losing, which for the most part is fine, because that anime has flair. Most of the characters have personality. They're confident, cocky, goofy, and out their goddamn minds, but they gave Yuichi a challenge. It could go either way. It was so entertaining, unlike Class Elite. The bad guy is plotting, he's manipulating people, then it's like, oh, that's it? It ends in an unsatisfying way. I don't know, it's missing that mysterious alert and suspense that the first season had. Also, almost forgot about these dumbass pretentious famous quotes at the beginning of each episode. Whose idea was that? Get this shit on my face. The final anime that I can't think of anything remotely clever to say. This one might be a surprise. It's Overlord. I know a lot of people love the series, which makes sense. It's a good anime. It has some really good and unique characters. It has some crazy hype moments. I recommend it if you've never seen it, but I just hit a breaking point. There's a few reasons why I dropped this show. After watching the latest season, I didn't realize how bad Ainz is at coming up with the final execution to a plan. I know that's sort of his character, but it felt like such a constant thing happening in the latest seasons, which leads into how I couldn't deal with how annoying the Floor Guardians became. It felt like every time they were having a meeting, they were sitting there overthinking what Ainz is planning. Then they'd be like, so you planned on doing XYZ to blah blah country. And Ainz's head, he'll be like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Then he would act like, yeah bro, exactly, you know me, keep up the good work. And they would be glazing the hell out of him, telling him how brilliant he is. I get that the NPCs, that's how they're programmed, which leads me into another point. How do you get trapped in this game? It just gets forgotten about and Ainz doesn't seem to really care. The only thing he wonders if there are others like him. I don't know if this becomes a storyline or it gets resolved later on, but it was something that always bothered me. It was always in the back of my mind. I don't really have much else to say. Anything more just be nitpicking. So it's time to start wrapping this up. Even though I talk somewhat negatively about these anime, I still recommend that you check them out if you've been curious about them. Except Run a Girlfriend, please don't waste your time on that garbage. I want to say I think for future videos like this, I want to keep it on the shorter side, just so I could try to put out more than 1 video a month. Now let me know in the comments, was I wrong for dropping these anime? Did you drop anything last year? Or just leave a random comment. It's fun engaging with you guys. Again, thank you for 100 subscribers. I believe I can hit one of my goals to get into 1,000 subscribers within this year. So with that, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, share with your siblings, cousins, classmates, or coworkers. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.